So in my last video, I talked about 5 tips to getting into reading novels, and in this video, we're going to be talking about 5 tips to help you hopefully get into reading manga. For me personally, I've been reading books my entire life and have always been a very, very avid reader, but only within the last couple of years have I fallen in love with the medium of manga as well. And now I'm an active reader of both. This is all still relatively new to me and I still have a lot to learn, but I've also been getting a lot of comments of people who have been following me for a while because of books, and because I'm now getting into manga, they are trying to get into manga as well. So thought it might be helpful to make a video if you are trying to dip your toes into the genre. Hopefully these are a couple of things that might help you get there a little bit easier. First and foremost is to explore what's out there. The primary biggest names in manga, stuff like One Piece, Naruto, Dragon Ball, Attack on Titan, Hunter x Hunter, the big names that you probably hear a lot. There's so much variety out there. So if one of those big names doesn't appeal to you, maybe look a little bit farther, because manga has a vast variety of options. Interested in something that's lighthearted, fun, slice of life, but still very active and keeps the plot moving at a great pace? Try Spy Family. It has been such a surprise and I absolutely adore it. Big fan of series and authors like Joe Abercrombie, Malazan, Song of Ice and Fire, stuff that really delves into the complexity of violence and war and human emotion. Try Vinland Saga or Berserk. You love absurdist fiction like Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy or the Discworld series? Maybe try my favorite One Piece. Or maybe you love horror and you want to explore a visual component alongside your reading. Check out Junji Ito. All of his stories are self-contained and good. Or if you want something a little bit darker but not quite that dark, Death Note is a really fun series. Or maybe if you're into literary fiction and romance and exploring trauma and really heavy topics, you have stuff like A Silent Voice and Fruits Basket. Even if you're into cooking and sports and rock climbing, you name it, there are series that are dedicated to these things. I mean, it gets real niche. A lot of manga series are really big and really long, and the size of the series might be intimidating, but there are so many series that are very short that run only 12 or 24 volumes. And getting through a volume is very fast, a lot faster than reading a traditional novel. My next tip is to read digitally. I promise you, I understand the compulsion to get everything that you want to read physically and read it with your hands. I love that. If that's something that you're into too, I hard relate. But once I bought this, which you can use your computer that you already own, you can use devices that you already own, but once I got a device that I was dedicated to reading manga, oh my goodness, game changer. Why? One, having a big screen to be able to read on is great, because then you really get to appreciate the artwork and you don't have to, like if you're reading on your phone, always zooming in on stuff. It ain't good. But two, the cost, because you get through a volume of manga so fast. Buying physically everything that you read, it adds up so fast, and that cost can be a huge deterrent. Plus, I strongly believe in allowing yourself to quit series you don't like, because there are so many different types of stories out there, and because in the beginning you'll probably be experimenting a lot on figuring out what kind of stories you want to read in this medium, you have to be allowed to quit on stuff that's not working. And if you're physically buying everything, it just feels like a waste of money. When a series doesn't work out for you and you don't finish it, and then you look at that stack of manga that you spent $100 on, it's just, reading digitally is great. So there's apps like Shonen Jump or Bookwalker that allow you to have a $2 monthly subscription, or to purchase the volume at a heavily discounted price digitally, and it makes it a lot less of a extreme commitment to start a series. And if you're reading a long form series like One Piece, just having a $2 a month subscription to Shonen Jump and being able to read the entire series that way, oh, it's amazing. My next tip is, if you're a complete and total newbie to this, take some time to understand the medium. More than likely, you have read some sort of comic in your life, or at the very least, Calvin and Hobbes. Or even if you haven't done that, why? why. Even if you haven't done that, you've probably read the Sunday Funnies or something like that, something. So you probably understand the way this format works. You're just reading it, you know, from right to left instead of left to right now, and from back to front instead of front to back. So there's a little bit of adjustment that needs happening there as far as which direction you read in, but you've probably experienced comics in some form or another in your lifetime. But if you're a total noob, if you haven't experienced comics hardly at all, and the idea of changing the direction that you read in is very intimidating to you, I'm gonna link a video I found where somebody breaks it down very clearly and very easy to understand which panels to read first, how to move across the page, how to understand the paneling. If you're completely intimidated, taking the time to understand the formatting so that you can just focus on enjoying the story and being engaged is a great plan. Next tip is to pick something that's praised for having a really loyal adaptation. A couple examples are Full Metal Alchemist, Vinland Saga, Fruits Basket. You could probably find a good list just through Google. The reason I recommend this is because I think that it's totally understandable to be intimidated by experiencing an entire new medium that requires a new reading style for your brain. When I first started reading One Piece, there were things that I was missing and misunderstanding because it was a completely new experience for me as a reader, and it just took me time to really click with it. I still loved the story, but it is a challenge for your brain to reformat the way you read and experience stories. Not to mention the fact that manga do use a different storytelling method and a different story structure a lot of times. So if you're just totally unfamiliar with the medium, I totally understand being intimidated and afraid that you're gonna miss stuff. So being able to read volumes and then watch the series side by side is really helpful because you're experiencing the story twice. One way that you experience it through the adaptation is probably more familiar to you. Even if you're not accustomed to anime, you understand how shows and movies work. And I found that a lot of times anime are a lot more on the nose than manga are. They'll either add extra scenes to further explore something or just kind of outright say something that's more hinted at in the manga. So if you're afraid of missing something, that could be a big asset. Experiencing the anime along with the manga will definitely help with the final tip in the video. And the final tip in this video is going to be the same as the final tip in the getting into books video, which is to get involved with the community. If you're a fan of Goodreads, Goodreads has manga on their listings. There's also My Anime List, which is basically the same thing as Goodreads as far as I can understand it. But there's also online communities and forums and a lot of YouTubers that focus on manga and anime as well, and you can find communities through them. Getting involved with a community of people that are excited to see you experience their favorite story for the first time, people who will be there to answer questions, clarify things that you misunderstood, help you when you need help on understanding something or on what to read next. People that are excited to see someone new fall in love with their story. Bringing in the community aspect to reading is so beneficial for me. It's a great way to make friends, it's a great way to make it more social, but it's also a great way to make the story feel a lot more personal to you because it's become a personal thing, a personal connection between you and other people. Like I said in the previous video, social media is just a part of our lives now. It's something that we actively participate in daily. So making books a part of our social sphere, a part of our way of engaging with people across the world, it just makes it more exciting and more realistic to make a part of your daily life. There are so many phenomenal manga fans that want to hang out with you and want to share their stories with you. I've had a phenomenal experience being a complete newbie, stepping into an environment that people grew up in and that are essential part of who they are. Me stepping in, knowing nothing and wanting to engage, I've been so welcomed. And you will find people that don't want to welcome you, but you will also find so many people that are just so excited to share something they love. So those are a couple of my tips as a newbie to manga that will hopefully help you get into manga as well. Maybe one or two of these will be a good launching point for you. If you have some tips of your own to get more immersed into the genre, or if you have some further recommendations that I didn't mention in this video, please feel free to leave them in the comments. I post videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday on this channel, Tuesdays and Thursdays on the second channel, which is linked in the description of this video. I'll see you again soon. Bye.